think it's time to blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
Awesome. How is everyone up in the house today? We have fun stuff going on. We got some really interesting topics coming up. We have No Cap Gaming episode 4, worst bull market ever. Now, the reason we're talking about this is just before I introduce everyone is it's one of those weird things. Things have gone up, but people have not felt richer. I don't know what everyone else's take is, but it certainly has been the feeling as a founder in Web3 gaming. So I'd like to invite all the speakers to introduce themselves and then give a little take on, do you think this is the worst bull ever? Or how you feeling in general, bullish or bearish? All right.
Yo, good evening,
Yo.
good evening. Yeah, cool topic. I am Aero. I am head of ecosystem at Warp. Excited to talk about this topic because it's it feels a bit up and down all at the same time. And it's not easy times for everyone. So let's get into it. Got a good panel up here. Looking forward to talking about this.
Yeah, we have a fantastic panel up here as well. So I'm just going to introduce Ange, Avo, Avocado Dab? Avocado Dots?
Hello. Yeah.
Hey,
Great to be here. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. And we have obviously Funny Donald is in the house. I mean, one could say that you are the mastermind behind some of our recent trials and tribulations. Let me know. Are you feeling bullish?
You know, I'm feeling bullish because one way to look at it is, everything that we love is at a tremendously huge discount from all-time highs. And that's bullish, right? That's bullish. we're all in agreement that this is the best bull market ever because of what I've done to prices. I've made great things so cheap, so inexpensive, and I've given you the best deal. That is the best way to look at this. I've done nothing wrong. I'm perfect. I'm handsome, and I've got great feet. Unbelievable feet. My feet pictures are selling online like hotcakes. They get the best toes.
And I'm so glad
That's
to
what
have you here today, Donald, because not only that, but you have just recently announced a foray into Web3 gaming. It must have been your appearance on last week's Space that meant you got that license for the Monopoly style Web3 gaming and start going on that. So that's also great.
exactly. And you know what? I plan these things out tremendously and perfectly. Nobody does a better job than I do with regards to gaming. I'm a very strong gamer. Nobody's been able to beat my score in Duck Hunt. I did a tremendously strong job with Duck Hunt a long time ago. I shot all the ducks. No more ducks. No more ducks.
Almost as good as Dick Cheney. I heard he's a good shot as well.
You know what, that peckerhead, you know what the thing is, he needed to go to a place where all the birds were trapped in a basically big cage. I mean, what the hell kind of shot? I mean, who hunts for quail like that? They clip the wings so they can't even freaking fly.
And that is exactly how I feel sometimes in Web3. Clipped wings, can't fly, can't get people off unless I pay a call.
A lot of
$200,000 a month.
similarities.
A lot of similarities. Also on the panel we have Rion. Could you give us an intro?
Hey everybody, GM. It's 3 a.m. here. I'm still having my dinner. I'm grinding on spaces, so happy to be here. It's my first time, I think. It's my first time here in Warp Space. I'm excited to be part of this conversation. It's amazing, and I think I'm bullish overall.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. And I just saw the Shaolin join us, but we've also got Jaden, who hasn't had a chance to introduce. Jaden, take it away.
Hey, good morning. Nice to hear everyone. Nice to be here as well. I'm Jaden, head of BD at Genome. We're an omni-chain revenue toolkit built for games. So we do tournaments, predictions, quests. We focus interoperability, so connecting different games and users from every gaming and blockchain ecosystem, whether EVM or non-EVM.
That's fantastic. Cross-chain stuff is what we like to hear about. And so, yeah, we've got Shaolin and Zip Clash just popped up as well. So Shaolin, give us an intro, and then we'll swing over to Zip Clash and get ourselves started.
Hey. Love being here. No Cap Gaming is the place to be. This is Shaolin. I'm the community manager for D-Lab Games, as well as an advisor with Andromeda. And yeah, man, just, doing what we do in the space. D-Labs is building over on Kaya and Ton. And Andromeda, we keep onboarding more and more projects for the Nintendo Switch too. So let's go.
Man, and you also have Michael, the tatted lawyer, possibly one of the sexiest men in Web3. And he's nice as well. Like I can't hate him. We're like in competition with publishing, but I just cannot hate the guy. He gave me throat sweets at GDC when I was out, and I've been like, I would be tempted if it was the other way around to give someone like something that would mean that they couldn't talk. And but no, he's just like, nah, man, I'm just too handsome. Look at the guns. I'm having a meeting with Scale later. See ya. So yeah, it's like, I'll give you this because you need all the help you can get. But it was great to chat with him last night. He was the MVP on the Space Gamified, which was always fun. And yeah, Zip Flash, introduce yourself, and we will get into this shiznit. Of course, Grim, our friend, you can also say hi to.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Super happy to be here, man. I'm hoping we're not in a bull market. A bear market, but anyways, yes, this is Marcello, head of spaces here at Zip Clash. We are a mobile cooking simulation game. You get to collect points and then use those points for food vouchers IRL, so real world utility here. And yeah, we're doing a lot of cool stuff. We might have an NFT collection coming very soon, but yeah, that's enough of our introduction. Super happy to be here. Thanks for having us, guys.
And so did you just outline that you have something that is essentially play to eat? Like I play and I can eat.
Yes, sir. We're not doing play to earn. We're doing cook to earn, baby. Cook to earn. Let's go.
Cook to earn. I've a cook to earn, sleep to earn. Like the only thing I haven't seen is like so far is like P to earn or something along those lines. Like no one's tokenized. I mean, dude, seriously though, people are tokenizing everything. Like, didn't that just happen with Base? Tokenize everything, where the guy with the punk just ruined everyone's lives yesterday. And then
Jesse, yeah,
Jesse. And then after that, the token pumps as well and goes back to where it was. And I think in the end, it was just a bunch of insiders who were very, very sad that they weren't protected from the sniping. So yeah, crazy times, crazy times. But yeah, just kicking off the space now. I just want to go round everyone to give me a sort of a quick thought on what you think is basically happening at the moment. Are you bullish or bearish on Web3 gaming for the next 6 months? Do you think we're in an uptrend or a downtrend right now? So I'm going to start with my co-host so we can show how it's done, and then we can roll around the room or just jump in. No hand needed. You can just go for it.
Yeah, I'm going to say I think well, definitely we're in a downtrend, but there's always downtrends, and they tend to be followed by uptrends. I think things have been bullish generally in the markets, and a lot of the top kind of 10, 20 tokens have done really well in the markets, and still looking quite good. I think gaming, it's one of those, isn't it? It's kind of, it goes from Bitcoin to Ethereum to your top 10 to your more, numerous alts, and there's a lot of game tokens out there now. And when the chains are swinging, the apps built on those chains tend to swing even harder. So I think I'm bullish on gaming. I'm not necessarily bullish on gaming tokens. Looks like there's been a lot of damage done.
Makes sense.
But bullish overall for crypto, and bullish on Web3 gaming, because good stuff is coming to Web3 gaming. We're just going to see a bit of pain for a little while, and then these kinds of corrections are really important, I think, for the industry ultimately, because they separate the strong from the weak, and the real from the fake.
Exactly. It's no pain, no gain. And I planned that. I planned that ever since I came into office. It was all organized and scheduled. Don't worry, bullish days ahead.
What the fuck? I joined late.
So yeah, as you know, that Donald Trump has just recently gone into gaming. So we just got Donald up on the space, just to shoot the shit with us.
What are your favorite gaming tokens, Donald? Oh, sorry, Mr. President.
Duck Hunt has been a game that I've been playing ever since I was, a wee 49-year-old. And I got to say, I love Duck Hunt tremendously. That's my kind of gaming, but I love the Web3 gaming ecosystem. I think it's got a lot of promise, a huge amount of promise. And you know what? Barron cannot stop playing with all the games. He wants to play all the games. And I let him because he knows what he's doing. He's very smart and handsome like I am, believe me. But I'm so bullish for this. I love the future of Web3 gaming. I think that, there are a lot of crap tokens out there, a lot of crap, huge amount of crap. But I think a lot of the gems are in Web3. Anything involving Web3 gaming, I think a lot of the kids, Gen Z, all the gens are going to love it tremendously. I just sniffed, in case you're wondering. I'm not doing cocaine.
That's fine.
No
that's
cocaine.
Fine. We don't have any sort of former presidential staff in the building, so it's fine. It's all good. But yeah, I think next we will roll on to Ange, because you had some top emojis there. Give us your take.
I mean, I don't know. I like what Donald's saying of being bullish on gaming. I think that makes sense. We're seeing like it's actually one of the biggest sectors that is getting funded right now from VCs, from angels. So I think we're all bullish on it. Yeah, fuck the tokens. Don't know about if the tokens are going to last, but definitely love that it's getting the attention it needs. It's getting early signs of PMF. You're seeing chains coming out that are able to produce PC level games within your mobile. And I think that's really interesting and cool. And that's the thing that we're not talking about enough in just like the regular Web2 community. So I'm super fucking bullish on it.
Oh, that's amazing to hear. Absolutely love it when people are bullish. To coin a Marcello phrase of my favorite, Marcello, you're representing Ziplash. You're representing a lot of games out there. What's your thoughts on the immediate future of gaming?
Yeah, absolutely. I know that, the last little while things have been a little shaky, but where hasn't it been, right? And I think that even on the broader level, I think gaming is also something that's just been suffering a lot as well. We've had almost like 15,000 layoffs last year, so it's not just a Web3 gaming situation; it's just a gaming situation. But when it comes to us, I definitely think we're in an interesting spot where I think that it really just takes one thing to shake things up in a positive way too, right? Especially when it comes to games, like we don't know everything. There could be games being developed right now for the last 5 years, and we could get some news tomorrow, and then that might shake everything up as well. So I don't know. For the little while right now, I do think things aren't the most bullish. That's for sure. But anything could change. Even in the next 6 months, um, things could become very positive as well. I think we've had a lot of shaky waters. We've had some interesting situations happen within the space back after back after back, which hasn't helped us at all. And I'm just speaking, between Web3 gaming and crypto in general. But, I think it takes more people like us to just keep building. And, you never know. It could literally anything could change in the next couple of months. And we'll have this conversation in September and things could just be bullish again, right? So just knowing the given nature of Web3 overall, and just knowing how gaming works as well, I think, yeah, man, things could change at any moment. I think right now it's a good moment to just keep building. Obviously, token this, token that. I'm excited for games to just keep continuing being built, and real products, right? But yeah, we'll see.
100% on that. 100%. And I think it's really important that we do address the thing. Is a little bit of an elephant in the room. Game studios shutting down, all of this sort of stuff. But this happens in Web 2. There's been masses of layoffs in Web 2. We've seen like 20% taken out of the mobile industry just by the changes around the privacy laws. Nothing to do with your tariffs, Donald. It's fine. You're not tariffing digital goods, thank God. Imagine that
Not
if
yet.
you not yet.
Not
Imagine
yet.
that.
You never
If
know.
maybe you can
If they're
tariff
from
all of the
China.
blockchains from China.
Especially Ripple. I'm tariffing Ripple. You cannot dissuade me. And by
Yeah.
the way, dissuade is a word that I use to win Scrabble.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And it's always good. And I do think it is actually surprisingly bullish news that the president of the United States is joining us in the Web3 gaming trenches, because things are going to go absolutely crazy when he launches his Monopoly game. Whether you get money in or whether you get rugged harder than Melania, sorry, Donnie, it's going to be an interesting time, shall we say? But yeah, we can go to a few other views. Creon, Jaden, Shaolin, you haven't had your say. If you've got anything, sort of thoughts on the latest state of gaming, jump up, Shaolin.
You always crack me up, man. You always have these brilliant takes. I love the little crack at Melania as well. No, I think things are super interesting because I think we talked about it last week too, but I think there's a level of like a great reset that's happening, right? A sea change of being product first, being very focused on products and services within the Web3 gaming system to support the actual runway for a lot of these studios. And I think it's super important because I'll be very honest, with D-Lab Games last year, people were pushing us to like launch TG, and then they were comparing us to Play Shrapnel. They were comparing us to like Valeria Games. Why aren't you guys doing these things? Why aren't you launching now? And
I mean,
unfortunately,
at
at the
least you're
time,
not Valeria. Valeria
Yes.
imploded, right? And
Yes,
that's because
yes.
the art was so bad. I'm sorry.
Again, I love the jabs. No, but why I say all this is because it was hard, being part of the community and understanding how to like foster these things and push the narrative. And even today, people are still jabbing at us, in the community, as a studio, because like, why did you stick to your AAA games and why don't you do all these things? Because for us, we understood that if the product isn't able to have proper distribution and onboard Web2 gamers and just gamers in general, how are we going to get out of the same mess? And so when you look in hindsight, it's always 2020, and you start seeing that products make a difference. But it also, just as important, is the level of distribution to create revenue streams, right? So I just wanted to add that, the dynamic of having to be able to adapt, pivoting to Ton, pivoting to Kaya. And Kaya is super bullish because they're super diamond hands. The Japanese, the Koreans, they are some of the most, well, the Japanese and the Koreans are very opposite. Japanese don't say anything. Koreans say everything all the time. I literally, if you compare like the US, Telegram chat, it's like hundreds of lines of chat, right? If I go away, it's in the 5 figures in Korean. It's 10,000 lines of chat, just people just being bullish and bearish and all of the things in between. And the Koreans are the most saltiest futters, but they're diamond hands that you can ever see. And I think this is important to talk about only because, a lot of things that we see are usually on the Western side, right? And we could talk about Eastern and even like Africa, but like when you see and look at the metrics in Dune and you see like the volume that's being driven, the LTV that's being driven, I think it's interesting to see how localized gamers are and how they do things differently from, like, let's say the Philippines or Vietnam or Nigeria or Latin America. And I think some of these things are not talked about in terms of the metrics and the analytics that come with. And so I always think it's interesting to have to market and localize, in the different regions to really help better understand how studios proliferate and how they do things. Because Web3 is so different and because it's transparent, you can have this conversation, you can have these dialogue in a way that has impact for us to even talk about on spaces like this. And so I mention all of that just because I think, it's not a narrative that is talked about frequently, but it's super interesting because you can actually extract a lot of information on how to kind of grow and build. And you can do it regionally in a way that you can say, hey, we start in one place here, another place here, and then focus on growing and scaling as needed based off of, your demographic of the genre of games that you're building. So it's just, basic principles of building a studio and then building revenue within, people who understand what you're trying to do, and then just building the community with it in tandem, because that's the Web3 way. So I love where things are headed. I love the fact that even though these other games and they were focused on TG and focused on liquidity events, that we were able to persevere and push through and go in with success and additional revenue streams, so that the token actually has the opportunity to succeed, because we're removing the hype and the speculation and giving people proper organic price discovery. So just want to add a little bit more conversation to what's already been shared.
I think it's
fair enough.
I think it's an exciting time actually for Web3 gaming, because we're seeing a gradual maturation of the whole of Web3, in the sense that product is becoming a lot more important now. But although we've known for years, I suppose, that one day we need to take these products to the masses, take it further than just this kind of bubble that is Web3. And Web3 gaming, because everything at stake is the game and so much money has to go into it. If you create an NFT project, you can kind of sit on millions of dollars for a while, and not really do anything. If you're a game project, you can't do that. So your runway is going to be getting eaten and eaten and eaten if you're actually building something.
And that's how most NFT projects have killed themselves, is by going into gaming.
Yeah, because you actually have to spend money then, right? So
yeah,
I think we're at that kind of turning point now with Web3 gaming where the expectations are high in terms of product. There's not as much money floating around, and everyone knows that the next step, we kind of come as far as we can before we start going beyond this bubble, creating great products, improving those products, iterating on those products, and going in. It's one thing having PMF, but you actually need to go to the market and find the people and get people playing your games, get your games monetized, get proper businesses running around it. Otherwise, if you're not doing all of those things, and not everyone can, it's tough times. But I don't think we can go any further with Web3 gaming until we start doing that personally. We've seen so much.
Makes a lot of sense. I'm going to let Creon have a say here, because you haven't had a chance yet.
Oh yeah, thank you. I'm gonna say I'm bullish, not because of gaming being seen or being funded by VCs, not also because this feels like 2021, not even because of the products. Actually, I see that people are kind of waking up and learning from our past experiences, and I see that the number of true builders that care about products and communities are also rising. The only question is, whether they're gonna last or not, because based on how I've observed so far, or on our experiences, maybe Web3 games have like short lifespan, but I really am hoping that there will be games that will last for like decades, or the community and the user experience through community and organic interaction engagement will also be retained. And I'm hoping, and I'm seeing that a lot of people are they know now, they now know what is needed in Web3, not just what we want. So tokens aside, I feel like we're improving, we're progressing. So really bullish on Web3 gaming. So Angie and I was on another conversation earlier where we were talking about this, and definitely gaming is one of those sectors that are actually maximizing the utility of blockchain, and whether it is being like taken advantage of to create taken advantage of as to become like a financial vehicle for some of the bad actors in this space. But the reality is there's a lot of gamers who wants to play game, and there's a lot of builders here in a Web3 gaming sector that are actually building good product. Just look at how the games were back in 2020 until versus now. Everything is going good according to what we are expecting and what we want. So I'm pretty bullish. Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to see people bullish on this. And as we're approaching sort of halfway mark, I mean, it'd be good to just sort of have a little bit of a summary of this. We are seeing essentially games shouldn't be just short. They shouldn't be gone and in a few seconds. They should definitely exist for longer. They like you're putting things immutably on the blockchain forever and doing tokens and all the rest of it. If you're not considering a live service game, I would question why you're in the space. Like if your game isn't meant to live forever and then spawn some sort of ecosystem and you continue building around that as a studio and as a community, I think you're kind of in the wrong zone. Because if you've literally designed your game to fall over after a while in the classic sort of Ponzi, what's the point? Unless it's just a purely token game. What's the point of having NFTs? You're basically creating on-chain garbage, like on-chain clutter. These things are just going to be worthless. I mean, it's like the fast fashion of Web3, these poor blockchains just having to constantly compute this. Please don't do this with Bitcoin. You will eventually kill it with too many crappy ordinals, and that would just be hilarious. But yeah, we are now on the half hour. I would advise everyone to follow everyone on the panel who's taking the time out of their day to join us here up on this space. Follow each other. These are wonderful people. And also, I'm adding Avalanche Gaming as a speaker. Bless their little hearts. You're stuck in another space about chains. But yeah, definitely follow Avalanche Gaming because they're awesome and they just joined us. And yeah, bullish on gaming, bullish on you guys. And with that, I'm going to intro Avalanche Gaming. And the topic is, are we bullish and bearish on the next, like the current state, like not the future, because we're all hella bullish on that. But what do we think of the current state of gaming in Web3?
Yeah. Hey guys, sorry to be late. Got held up on another space. Was hanging out with you there, I think, Matthew, for a little bit. But
yeah, I had to run because I can't be half an hour late to my own space.
It's true. It's true. I've never been more bullish than I am right now at this moment. If you look at like just where the products are, like where the games are, we've had 3-4 years of real dev time to be able to get games to where they're at today, to where there's so many different playable games, not only on Avalanche, but a lot of my favorite games aren't even on this chain. Shout out to games like Parallel and Project O as a TCG maxi myself. So even though I think there's a huge disconnect between current market sentiment and prices as well, like we have never had as much development and real product as we have today. And so it's my opinion, again, not financial advice, that it's only a matter of time until that realignment happens, to where the market actually does take into account the reality of, hey, the product has come such a long way. Now, if like all the games out there were totally ass and like it was all still just like, DeFi, play to earn farming, like reskins that like we had from the 2021 era, and we were in the same like market like condition position, I'd be like, okay, guys, like I get it. Like we didn't do anything for the past like few years. We fumbled the bag. Like let's pack it in. But that's not the reality of what we're seeing on the ground. And I know like a lot of you guys are gamers and are in the trenches and have your own favorite titles in the space. And so, I think, again, it's only a matter of time until everyone realizes, oh, hey, we're actually like building some really cool shit here. People are having fun playing it. And, don't go looking and staring at charts all the time. Go find some games that you like to play and jam on those is my suggestion.
I have to add that there should be a CoinGecko section of ass gaming. I think you just coined a new term for a CoinGecko category. They should call it ass gaming because that was tremendously smart.
I mean, I still think there should be a token called generational bottom, which is the funniest thing that people like throw around if they're wearing Crocs and sitting there having a vape, talking about generational bottoms. I think that's with an animal PFP, they're basically one step away from being a furry. But I digress and back into the world of gaming. It's always great to have Donald up here with his great takes and his entry into gaming. Hopefully building on Avalanche, the new Donald Trump game coming out. Let's see how huge it can be. And
we got lots of lovely people in the audience as well. We got Gas down there, Jerry, Meta Rides, Odin. Lots of beautiful people.
We can see some lovely people here in space.
And we are streaming on the Arena on Twitch, YouTube, and X at the moment. So if you're listening in, tune into to the stream as well, because we're here. Hi, everyone.
No, it's good. And we're bringing you No Cap Gaming because we want to gather all of the people in the space to talk about gaming with none of the cap, none of the bullshit. Yes, you can shill, you can say that, but it's things you believe in. I mean, if you have doubts, say you have doubts. If Avalanche wants to kick another chain while they're down, I'm not going to stop them laying into Immutable. Sorry, I didn't have said that out loud. It's all good. It's really good to be up here, and as we're going through this part, let's look into the future and see what is coming up next in the world of games. What are we going to what we're going to push on? Why are we going to be resilient? How are we going to survive this? And Shaolin, what are we going to do to survive the current state and then go into the golden future of gaming?
One of the things that I've always been super interested in, I actually wanted to get both your take as well as Arrow's, and obviously anyone from the panel that has a thought. So one of the things I'm starting to see, I work closely with the Mutant Labs team, and so what they do is they do 404s, and they've done that for meme coin communities, but they're also doing it for gaming. Killer Bears just launched a new game on Sol utilizing 404. I've seen it done, on other chains as well as a tech, but I'm curious to your guys' thought process in terms of what 404 basically the pivot between a token to an NFT and utilizing in terms of gamification for games. Do you think it's a gimmick and it's going to have its run, or do you think it's actually something that's viable in terms of really changing the landscape and the experience for people to come in and onboard them so they don't have to have the NFT first, but then utilizing the token and the NFT as a like an RPG method of like building up to something so that you can acquire enough so that you can then get the NFT and then utilize it either as a soulbound token or some type of thing, metric for you to have multipliers. I think it's super interesting, but I haven't heard enough people's feedback on it in this gaming space to kind of see if it's something that will actually stick and stay in terms of the gaming experience and user experience.
I mean, as I've repeated often on Spaces, I'm all for putting in complicated financial instruments into in front of players. I love that. That's one of my favorite things. In fact, I want to play an RPG where I can go and have a 7% annualized return on my axe that I put in the bank. No, I'm joking. I think it's going to work for some games, man. Like, it's going to work for some games. Some people want complicated financial things. Some people want all of that special tech. I think we need to have games that become so vastly popular and so absolutely crazy, do some of these more niche use cases find their game design home? Because I just don't think we have enough people who built enough games to use them to what crazy level of crazy they should be doing. I mean, there is all sorts of weird shit you can do with tokens and NFTs and the various like standards and that can be fantastic, but we can't think of them as purely financial instruments. We have to think of them as what is that actually doing to change, say, for example, the resources on a planet. Imagine that you had all of the resources on the planet and the entire planet is like a voxel world where every single resource was an NFT that could have sort of a token and a liquid staking. You could simulate some sort of crazy interplanetary mining economy with warp gates taking these things from place to place, and that all functions dynamically and online permanently and in a way that it's always recorded and you can't crash the server, and you can have finite planets in an infinitely constantly expanding universe of games. I want to see that shit. Until we have that, then let's not complicate things and let's make games that look damn good, like the games we're watching streaming at the moment. But yeah,
I think that's the issue, isn't it? Is that why do these things come into existence? Generally because it's a way, I think in this instance, of making NFTs more liquid, essentially, so that you can kind of fractionalize them and make it so more people can own them and generate more kind of financial velocity around it. But that's the Web3 way of using something and giving something a use case. At the end of the day, like I like what you said there, Shaolin. You could be accumulating the pieces of something to then eventually assemble it, or something along those lines. Or you could, I mean, I've been waiting for fungible tokens to be used for resources for years now. Like you could be collecting gold and trading gold. You could be specializing in stone mining and selling stone. Like there's ways that you could do that and have that kind of peer-to-peer marketplace around it. But I think there's a use case for a lot of these NFTs, particularly like soulbound tokens, particularly when it comes to player identity and your data. But again, like all of these different standards can have great use cases. It's just a question of what's a great use case, and then finding the standard to fit, rather than creating a standard and then finding a way to put money into it.
So
yeah,
I like to chime in as well to this conversation, because I think that I definitely want to piggyback on what Matt said. And the good thing about Web3 technology is having all this available. The difficult thing is making it simple enough that doesn't impact the gaming experience. Because right now, a lot of these games have focused on implementing the technology, but not enough on the entertainment value of the game itself. And that has been a struggle also to onboard new users to a game that it's complicated. We don't want complicated. We want the technology to be there to give you the possibility to mine the gold, to mine the resources, but not neatly knowing what the function is. I've seen a couple of games that have done this successfully, although they didn't specify or they don't have any connection right now publicly to Web3. I'll mention in a second. I do want to see what the panel has to say, obviously, about the state of gameplay at the moment, because we need to onboard a lot more indie games. I think the Web3 economy and the Web3 space is so open for Web3 development, for indie game development, due to the fact that you can literally crowdfund yourself without needing to rely on a Kickstarter or early access from Steam. But games such as Star Citizen, I don't know if you guys ever played it, they have such technology behind the scenes that works as if it was crypto, but they don't have crypto, which is, I think, the perfect mix. You have the technology, but you don't mention it, and the players enjoy the technology without realizing that it's being used.
And also, think? like Star Citizen is one of those games that people have bought hundreds of bajillions into in a massive Kickstarter. I would say it has got harder and harder for games to raise from their communities, as everyone has got broker and broker in this somehow fantastic bull run. Would love to draw on some of the other panelists here. We have Gaspoda. You came up for a reason. Give us some intro Give us what you think. How do we do this? How do we reach those kids? Or not, Gaspode?
I didn't hear the
Come on.
question, man. I just left Wi-Fi and switched to mobile internet just as you said my name, so I don't know what the question was.
And usually when that happens, you perma-rug the person who's talking at any one time. So I'm glad I came back and you can hear me. Hopefully you can hear me. But yeah, the question was, now I've forgotten the question. Like, how do we reach these kids? How do we reach this kid? No, it was more about like all of the complicated and cool things that we can do in Web3 with different standards and that. Are they adding to the space? And generally, are we bullish on the, like, are we recovering? How did we get into this position where everything's gone up, but Web3 gaming hasn't yet?
So a couple of points. The reason I jumped up is, for some reason, it's not telling me who's speaking, but someone was just covering the idea of making it fun enough that people do stuff. And I kind of wanted to jump up on that because I think for even in Fortnite, getting V-Bucks is easier, but you have to, jump through some hoops. Same with getting Roblox with the currency. You can't just do it straight away. You have to be able to put in your credit card. So there are steps, but it is worth the effort because people like what they get at the end. And I think that's one of the things here. Web3 is obsessed with making things easier, but it doesn't matter how much easier you make some of the steps. If the end result's still not very pleasing, like I'm still not going to do it. It could be really easy, but if I don't want what's at the end, I'm not going to do it. In terms
exactly, it's easy to plunge your hand repeatedly into boiling water, but it ain't fun.
Yeah, and then in terms of, are we solving problems with some of these things? I think the majority of them aren't. I think a lot of them, people just like doing cool stuff, and that's fine. It's not going to be mass market. I don't think that people should stop doing cool stuff. I think, and I did a thread which no one read to the bottom. They just saw the picture which said Web3 founders suck, and then just replied to that and ignored the rest of it. I was saying that founders were getting...
That's how I think that they do.
The point I was trying to make is that they're getting better, but I do think that we started off with too many dreamers, and now we're starting to get realistic optimists coming in. And I think that ties into your question of why is gaming not flying up the same way other bits are, is because we are seeing that people are starting to understand it, that gaming doesn't have the same escape velocity in price that others have. They will be a slow build. If anything, most of them will go up slowly over time in terms of a token or an NFT. And I think that's far more sustainable, but it's not as sexy, and it's not the 100x you could be making on meme coins. So I think it's probably more education around how long, difficult, and what the time horizon looks like for games, which has actually been good for a user understanding what they're getting into and what they're investing in terms of buying things into games, but bad if you want to see massive moonshots of tokens going up.
Matt, you're muted.
I did the insta mute thing. It's great when I unmute and it's like, nope, fuck you. It's like the safety belt on the car when and then you just pins there and it won't release you. But yeah, I think Gaspard makes a fantastic point. Founders did suck and are sucking less now. But the thing is, in DeFi, the founders maybe didn't suck because they were all finance pros who had no idea about games. So they were relatively good at building financial products that could manufacture money out of thin air like they'd done on the stock market. So that was okay. They were good at that shit, but they're not good at, as we're watching on stream, Black Myth Wukong. Like, I don't think any of those 21 generation of founders could have even conceptualized what the fuck this game should look like, how it should play, and what the kind of UI that you would need to use a stick and make that actually fun. And like all of the special little touches, games have had Easter eggs in them for years, magic in them. I don't think the craft, the absolute hard-bitten craft has come into the space fast enough, and it might never do with the advent of AI. I see Avalanche Gaming, you have your hand up.
Yeah, well, I wanted to touch on the point of like, how do we get the kiddos into the space? And I think it's a few things. Obviously, like Matt, what you're talking about, like the games have to be tailored toward the kids. I don't know necessarily if they're all going to be, as financially motivated as fun motivated in terms of like they just want something sick to jam on. But like the biggest thing I've seen is just like awareness. Like the kids aren't going to get into the space and try out the stuff if they've never heard of the damn thing. So what we're trying to do here at Avalanche is go meet the kids where they are, whether that's physically in person, hosting a lot of different game nights around the world at PC Bong, like cafes, and trying to get like the in-person gamer crowd, as well as conventions and all that stuff. But then also on social media and really trying to hit TikTok and short form content to say like, oh hey, these are the games that are on consoles that you are already playing and are already banked on, like Xbox and PlayStation. Go check out Off the Grid. And when you see you reducing that friction and making it a lot easier to go from just like awareness to being able to jump in the game, I think we're seeing some light adoption already on that younger generation, and we just have to keep on pounding it home. And hopefully we'll have a product that they're like, oh damn, like okay, this game is sick. Let's just rip it.
Yeah, fantastic take on it. And we'd just like to see if we can have we got a full panel or can we add someone? I'm just trying to
gaming on Avalanche. Do you guys regret not going heavier into TikTok and those things a little earlier? Because I'm seeing it a lot on the timeline now. People are kind of venturing out to new platforms, and it just seems like they have this sudden realization. Actually, there's people out here that want this kind of content, and I could be onboarding people, and now I'm ahead of the game because still no one's doing this. Like, are we all just missing it? Are we all just doing it wrong?
I think there's like a timing thing. So like we're pushing heavy into TikTok right now because we have content that we believe, one, will do well on TikTok, and two, will actually convert into something meaningful, versus not having those people have a real call to action to actually come do something where they're likely to be like sticky and stick around. So I don't think we regret not doing it sooner. I think we're doing it now because we think we have the correct roster of both content and playable games to where we can capitalize on those conversions. But if you don't have a mobile strategy and you don't have a TikTok strategy in mind for when you are ready as either a game or as a layer one or whatever, then you're definitely going to be missing a huge audience, because that's where so much content is consumed and so many of the younger generation of gamers are.
I mean, you make a fair point on that. I think it's definitely crazy when we have like so many different ways of onboarding people into Web 2, and we've got so much velocity in Web 2. The marketing velocity in Web 2 is insane. I don't know if anyone has actually run UA on a Web 2 game. The trends that are identified within those fake mini game adverts versus real human content adverts, like someone dancing, versus like brain rot plus game, versus like text, like auto text plus brain rot plus game. Like there are that moves so fast. And I think in Web3, we move really fast. We move so fast from metas, we don't necessarily have the time to study the metas that are outside our space. And that's what I think would be really interesting, is once we've hit that base layer, that ground level, like as Avalanche is building up something where you can actually branch out. I think it's going to be pretty sweet. Like when we get those people in there who know how to do that and know how to play that game, and then these TikTok kids can start making shit tons of money playing games. I think we're in for a different world. I mean, it's huge. Finally, Donald, any takes on how huge Web3 gaming is going to be, especially with your game releasing soon?
It's going to be tremendously huge. Yeah, that's my take. It's going to be tremendously huge. It's going to be so big, so huge, so powerful. And the thing is, the momentum is all in the direction of the Web3 gaming. And when I release my game, you're going to feel tremendously overly stimulated, believe me. You're going to feel so stimulated. That was a hard word for me to say. What the hell? But you're going to feel so good. You know, I'm too stimulated even talking about it. It's unbelievable.
We'll have to get Vance up here to make everyone in Web3 gaming say, like, he's going to sit there and he's going to demand everyone says thank you. Did you say thank you for Donald Trump coming to Web3 gaming? That's going to be fan-fucking-tastic. Okay.
You know, I should have asked that at the beginning of this space. Did you thank me for even being up here on this panel? Did you thank me
I did.
for giving...
Thank you, sir, Mr. President.
I appreciate it.
Sir, Mr. President, Lord of Canada, and Protectorate of Greenland. I think your son Joffrey Baratheon Trump is certainly going to be a great god emperor of mankind as soon as you get the space marine armor big enough to fit him. But yeah, we have CryptoCade up on the space as well. Why don't you give us your takes? He came up for a reason. Let's say highs.
Yeah, sorry I'm late, guys. Wasn't able to get here on time today, but love the conversation, and was not expecting the president here today. Absolutely legendary space. I walk in and it's just all lulls here. This is that energy that I think the space has been missing. Bring this back to the entertainment factor. Bring this back to what kind of brought us all here. Is to have fun and to build cool shit together. And I think this space is a great example of that being done right.
We're bringing sexy back. I don't know what music artist said that, but you know what? Somebody said it.
We are definitely bringing sexy back, and we're actually adding sexy because now we've also moved into the world of non-woke gaming as pushed by Elon and Trump. Do we think that gaming is going to go back to Leisure Suit Larry style stuff? Do we think we're going to see on-chain naughtiness? What is going to make
I
the
hope
breakout?
so. I hope that happens across cinema, across all mediums. I just bring back comedy, bring back taking the piss out of everyone.
Man, they were raunchy. They were crazy,
and they're still the best.
Yeah, man, I could never get enough of like RoboCop. I actually want the 90s and the late 80s, all of those movies. I want them to be games. I want that to be cyberpunk, you know.
Well, RoboCop was a game.
Yeah, I know, but it was shit because we didn't have the graphics. I want a full like 3D RoboCop, explore the city. That would be crazy, right?
I think we're seeing a lot of this happen right now too on like Netflix, right? We've seen Netflix buy up dozens of popular IPs from old games. I mean, just what, last month, Devil May Cry. I mean, an absolutely great rendition that we have seen the metrics for the game, Devil May Cry, go up as a result, right? People that were not fans of this game, that were not introduced to this IP, have now been introduced to it through a transmedia approach. And while everybody may not have the ability to cop a Netflix deal for their brand new IP, it just shows that the way that we reach our audience is not directly just through your game. It's through your IP, right? And so as builders are continuing to branch out, yes, platforms, getting off of X, going through TikTok and traditional UA funnels to reach the audience that you are actually trying to reach is super important. But how you speak to them when you're there and the types of entertainment that they choose to interact with on those platforms is equally as important.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic point. And it's really cool. Like we will get there. Like I guarantee you will get there, especially with the IPs. Like Devil May Cry, fantastic IP. Hilariously enough, Arcane on Netflix was such a good rendition that people who tried the game, they tried League of Legends, and boy did they hate that. Like they did. It like literally put off about 30,000 people who downloaded that game and were like, this is gonna be fun. No, it was not fun. It was like being baptized into lava. So it's definitely swings and roundabouts with that on the IP, bringing people back into your game. But definitely, game IPs have crossed the threshold, and I think we as a culture have crossed the threshold as well. From the point where, when I was a kid, gaming was like quite a geeky habit. It was seen on the same level as like painting Warhammer, and even that's become like quite a lot more rehabilitated. I mean, no one goes into the stores. No one can abide the smell. You don't want to be seen in there. And before you hit puberty, it's basically okay as a thing. But now gaming is kind of everywhere. Everyone loves gaming. How do we see this? Like, everyone loves gaming. Everyone loves IPs. So how do we build across this with Web3? How do we reach those things up? And that will be, I think, the final thoughts as we're coming to the close end of the hour. And I would like to respect everyone's time.
That's where I do think like interoperability as a concept has kind of gone very quiet, but I still think there's something there. In terms of like player identity, especially player identity, interoperability of assets, like people like we had notes down. We could talk about the sandbox and them doing this thing with Jurassic Park. I mean, it's kind of gone. They keep doing these things, but at least they keep doing them, right? They're iterating. They're surviving.
They're sitting on god levels of money.
Yeah, but they're still here, and you know, if you're around long enough and you iterate long enough and you've got enough money, then great things can happen. But ultimately, just every brand now has to have some kind of existence in gaming, right? They have to have their IP everywhere. It has to be in games. Sandbox is one of them. So you have your IP everywhere now. If you start working for a brand and you put it on LinkedIn, immediately the agencies are in your inbox, like, oh, we can get your brand here, we can get your brand here. And I think this is and like Cade was saying about Netflix, the way that everything's transmedia now, and I think people want to be transmedia too. And I think interoperability is a really cool way of perhaps making that happen. I don't quite know how yet, but
I think it's about player data as well. Player data.
I think it's really
data.
It's really important. Yet look at the data, right? At the end of the day, all marketing, like the methodology, like tactics, strategies, and messaging may change, right? But these are short-term things, right? Your approach and the best practices that we use in marketing, depending on the product vertical, very, very little change, right? There's very little difference to building a marketing funnel, product to product. It's really about placement, right? Where are we going to run these ads? What are the messages to that persona? And I think that's where a lot of Web3 is struggling right now, right? Because there is not a dedicated audience that already exists here and is labeled and pixeled and trackable, right? Something that's very easy to remarket to. We are building that audience, right? And for the last 9 months to 2 years, everybody has tried to treat this as if these are brand new people entering the world whose only interest is Web3, right? Or only interest is DeFi. And your customer personas are real people who have real journeys, who don't just like Devil May Cry, that don't just play games. They watch animes, they buy comic books, they collect trading cards, right? And there are all sorts of avenues that you can use when you understand your audience persona to reach these people. And I think we've been putting all of our financial paid media bucket into one specific vertical and one specific platform. Most every project for the last 2 years, that's paid media via content creators on X. And that is not the way that you're going to fill 100,000 players in a lobby, right? That is not the way that you're going to create a sustainable brand around an L2, right? You have to find a way to speak to your customers in the places that they are and not treat them as if their only value is as a Web3 user.
Yeah, that is very important there. And I think that's a great sort of note to end the space on. Like, don't treat them as if they're just a Web3 user. They are a normal, regular person with a regular job, a 4chan history that is now public, and a bunch of other dark secrets, and their pseudonymous world driving around and doing naughty things in GTA is what they want to do on the past. And it doesn't make them a bad person, whether they own a Cybertruck or burn a Cybertruck. They're still anyone they like in games. And I think that's what I think is really great about this space. You can come into this space as anyone. Yes, it's caused problems because none of you fuckers know how to build games, but we will succeed as everyone. And we only do that if we bring everyone with us. And that's why I'm happy to have all of the wonderful panel up on the space. Please like, share, retweet, follow, listen. Join us on Arena, Twitch, YouTube, whatever you like, and hunt down these wonderful people and shake their hands if you ever see them in person. Apart from Donald, you can't run at him, you will get shot in the head. So they've learned their lesson. They've learned their lesson last time, man. Last time, slack security guards. Great picture, terrible security. Anyway, I've been Matt, and my lovely co-hosts up here, Aero and Grim, and thanks for another fantastic episode of No Cap Gaming.
Cheers, everyone.